You don't make up for your sins in the church. You do it in the streets. You do it at home. The rest is bullshit, and you know it.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Good Movies, the podcast where we discuss, wait for it, good movies, the filmographies of acclaimed film directors. This week, we will be discussing Martin Scorsese's third theatrically released film, Mean Streets. My name is Forrest.
And my name is Kevin, and join us as we discuss the illustrious career of Martin Scorsese. Oh, Forrest, this was an interesting one. I'd love, like we always do, to start off with our initial thoughts, initial experience with this film. Mine is going to be pretty similar to the last couple movies, but how about you? What was your first experience with this movie?
I actually have something different to say this time.
All right.
This was the second time I've seen this film.
Oh, twice.
The first time I did not love it. Now, the reason why is because I literally had to watch it on my old laptop computer. So,
That's not the way Scorsese would have wanted you to watch it.
Exactly. And it was really hard to focus. I thought it was kind of boring. And it was, I talked in earlier episodes about Martin Scorsese greatest hits watch that I did a few years ago, and this had a high enough IMDb score for it, so I did it, and I was not impressed. I thought it was kind of boring, but on the second rewatch, I will say I have a much better taste in my mouth after.
Well, that's good to hear. I don't want to derail us too soon, but I'd be interested to hear a little bit more about your rewatch in the past and that IMDb threshold that you wanted it to be at. Do you want to talk about that a little bit now, or do you want to save that for a future episode?
I can talk about it now. It's not really all that interesting. It was basically if one of Martin Scorsese's movies was above X IMDb score, and I don't remember what it was, but it must have been higher than 6.7, 6.6, I think is what Who's That Knocking at My Door is, because that one didn't make it. Boxcar Bertha did not make it. Mm-hmm. This one made it, but it gets really inconsistent later on. I'll probably touch on it throughout the series, but it gets really inconsistent.
I got you.
Because that was before I really dove into what's theatrical versus what is like his documentaries or his specials. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news. We don't have any plans to discuss the documentaries as of yet. Unfortunately, that does include The Last Waltz, but we might change our mind. But right now we're sticking to theatrical releases.
Gotcha. Thanks for sharing. That was cool. I know you mentioned that a couple of times. It's nice to hear more.
Yeah, that's all it was. I did it with Tarantino, and then I'm still on it with Coen Brothers, even though it's probably been a couple of years since I've watched with the Coen Brothers.
It'll take a while to get through all their stuff.
Well, again, it's the greatest hits rule, which I don't have a hard, fast rule about it. I want to say it's a 7 on IMDb. But I was really inconsistent with it. So take that with a grain of salt. But right now we're doing all of the theatrical releases, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Luckily, with Martin Scorsese, he doesn't have too many bad. Ugly's a subjective term, and it's mostly good, including this one where I think he really. I'll be honest. He hits his stride in this one. This is classic Scorsese.
Nice. Well, Forrest, I think I might have fallen into the rut there of the first watch not being great because I didn't love it.
Really?
Maybe I need to watch it again.
Oh man, this is gonna be interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a few things. It felt like this is what Scorsese does best, like the mob movie, the city movie, but he's done it so much better in the future. This just didn't feel great to me. Kind of like what you said, like it was kind of boring. It was kind of all over the place. And it was like I almost liked, it was very similar to Who's That Knocking at My Door? I feel like it could have been a sequel to that. And I feel like I liked Who's That Knocking at My Door better, honestly.
That's really interesting. Now, a couple of things that I did read about that. This actually started off as a continuation of Who's That Knocking at My Back Door.
Okay, that makes sense.
Who's That Knocking at My Door? Excuse me.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously it's Keitel. He's back in the lead role. He's playing a pretty similar character to the Who's That Knocking at My Door character.
We'll talk about that more. I definitely noticed some similarities. This is the alternate take where JR is now Charlie.
Yeah.
And so he must take on a secret identity because he's so ashamed of his breakup with that girl and assumes the identity of Charlie.
Hey, at least his love interest has a name in this one.
Yes, she does. It is interesting. It's an interesting point. Gosh, why can I not remember these names? The Bechdel test?
Oh, yeah, the Bechdel test.
It is. Oh, I got it right. Okay.
Yeah, you did. You got
it. It did not pass the Bechdel test.
No, it definitely did not.
The one female character did not show up until, God, it was quite a while.
Yep.
It was quite a while.
Wait, who is this? Where is she coming from?
Yeah, and we'll talk about that more when we get to that scene. But that was definitely a rough cut to the intro.
Yep.
Of the introduction of the character. All right, well, let's get into the rewatch part of this. So first off, I thought that was a great opening line. You know, I mentioned I didn't love this the first time around, and I was like, that was a really, really good opening line. And in case you forget it, it's a voiceover. You don't make up for your sins in church. You do it in the streets. You do it at home. All the rest is bullshit, and you know it. And you wake up to it's Charlie, played by Harvey Keitel, waking up as if it's a dream, and then it goes back to the church where JR left off. I'm just kidding. It does cut to the church though.
Yep.
So one interesting thing, that was not Harvey Keitel's voice. That was Scorsese's voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was his voiceover.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
So I'm guessing that's his cameo. I was thinking about this. In Boxcar Bertha, did we go over where his cameo was in that?
I think we did, but I don't remember where it was.
He was he was in the Bertha's prostitution montage.
Yes, we did mention that.
Okay, I thought about that retroactively, but couldn't remember if we covered that or not.
Yeah, we got to play Where's Marty in every movie.
I don't know if he's in every movie, honest, but that'll be fun to find out.
Yes. Wearing a red striped hat, so it'll be tough.
I did not notice him anywhere else in the film, so I believe that's it, but I could be wrong. So next, we're still at the church, and it's almost like a baptism scene, and I don't know. Do you know what's going on there?
No, not really. I just kind of, in my notes, I wrote down the old film stock was cool. Like we got movies as the movies are the hero, like as it seems to often be in Scorsese's work. But we had the start of the montage with that film camera going, and then we get the cool montage with the film stock look to it. And there's baptism. We meet all the characters. There's the church pastor they're shaking hands with. It kind of just seemed like a fun way to introduce all the characters and what's important to them. But specific to the baptism, I don't really know what they were getting at exactly. I don't know if that was supposed to be Baby Charlie or what, but yeah, it was a cool opening. I enjoyed it. Fun, energetic music like Marty often does.
Yeah, and this was "Be My Baby" by the Ronettes.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, and that's one thing. The music was steps above what he's done so far. I don't think there was much music in Boxcar Bertha. Who's That Knocking at My Door had some good ones, but this is classic Scorsese style.
Yeah, this was awesome. We get some of our first Stones. Lots of really fun Scorsese style music for sure. I was pumped.
Yeah, and I tried to get as much as I could, but there's no official soundtrack. That all there is a list of songs that appear.
Yeah,
and I picked out the ones I could, but go easy on me because I didn't get them all. One fun fact I did read on the IMDb trivia is that most of the film's budget was spent on licensing the music for this.
Oh, that makes sense. No wonder they got all this really recognizable music.
Yeah. So after the baptism is a hard cut to someone shooting up in the bathroom of a bar. And the bar owner, who we later find out is named Tony, played by David Proval. I'll come back to him in a minute, but no drugs allowed in his establishment. And I wrote down that the set looked similar to Who's That Knocking at My Door. I don't think it was the more I watched it, but it looked similar on a first glance because Who's That Knocking at My Door was in black and white, and this is not.
Yeah, it seemed bigger than that, but like just the feel of it was the same. It's like, oh, we start out with a montage, and then we're in a bar, and this is like the place where all the guys hang out, and it's like their headquarters. So lots of parallels and similarities.
Yeah, the guy who threw him out, the owner of, well, I think they call the place Tony's, is Tony, played by David Proval, who I know for he played Richie Aprile on season 2 of The Sopranos.
That's another one I haven't seen, so
you'll find I'll be comparing a lot of these actors to The Sopranos because of the Italian themes and the gangster themes. And then it cuts to a scene of Michael and a bad shipment of lens for him. Michael's an important character throughout this.
Yeah, I thought whatever his job is seemed kind of interesting, and I couldn't tell at first. Like he seems to be kind of a Vandalay type, an importer exporter. But
nice.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, so it seems like his job in the group here is he's bringing in shipments of different things that they can sell and make money. But yeah, he thought they were bringing in German camera lenses. They turned out to be Japanese adapters, and I was like, wait, are they actually talking about this, or is this code for drugs or something? But I guess not. There's not really a lot of drugs in the film, and they were just established in the last scene that these guys don't like dealing with drugs. So
yeah, it is. I think it's just a heist of some sort. Like they
gotcha.
Take the goods and then sell them to the black market. I'm paraphrasing. That's not actually what's happening, but it's not. It doesn't come up that much, but the theme of owing money does.
Yeah.
So it looks like Michael got a bad shipment of lens, and then it cuts to Johnny Boy, played by Robert De Niro.
So young.
Yeah, he is very young, and I think this was his first big role I was reading. Which is confusing because he got the star billing over Harvey Keitel. That does not make sense to me.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like a retroactive thing. Like maybe like a later versions of the movie they call him out first. I don't know. That seems very odd.
Maybe, but this is the first collaboration between those two. I think the number overall is 10. They have 10 film collaborations.
Yeah, including Killers of the Flower Moon. It's 10.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and his character is a fucking whack job.
Yeah.
I'll go into that. The bombing the mailbox scene was funny, but that's the tip of the iceberg to how unhinged his character Johnny Boy goes.
Some people just want to see the world burn. I think Johnny's one of them.
I think you're right. There's more voiceovers. I didn't write down the actual quotes from this, but there's more voiceovers of Charlie back in church. He's a religious skeptic, but it's like different from the last movie because I don't think JR was a skeptic.
No, JR was all in.
Yeah, I think Charlie's more of a skeptic.
Mm-hmm.
It cuts over to some nice art in a strip club.
Yeah.
And he's lusting after her.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah.
And he gets on stage and dances with them for a bit.
It was almost like a little Copacabana scene there in the beginning, walking through the bar or walking through the club. It was a cool little intro there.
Yeah.
It was following him along. It wasn't a full long one shot like the cabana, but it was definitely a precursor about.
Uh-huh. It's a fun scene. But that's at Tony's where the strippers are, and he kind of lusts after her throughout the whole movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he doesn't seem to have as much trouble with it. So yeah, he definitely is a different character than Who's That Knocking at My Door. There's just a lot of similarities.
And the stripper's name is Diane, and she is played by Jeannie Bell, who I guess actually was a former Playboy Playmate of the Month in October 1969.
All right.
The more you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's another bar fight. These happen from time to time. There's another bar fight. It doesn't. All it is them trying to keep the peace. So now that I'm reading back, there's a lot of bar fights in this movie.
There are.
This one didn't really. There were no consequences, but we get Johnny Boy coming to the bar, and I wrote in my notes. He's got two women with him, and he's obviously hamming himself up, and he checks his pants at the coat check, and I thought that was very bold.
I thought that was pretty hilarious.
Like if
but
those,
then he puts them back on. But...
Well, I mean, the fact that he actually had them off, and they say women like a confident man, and he is that.
Yes, Johnny is quite the confident dude.
To a fault. And then it cuts to the Rolling Stones Jumping Jack Flash, the first of many Stones songs we'll see in his movies.
That was great. It was a perfect ad.
Usually it's Gimme Shelter, but this time it was Jumpin' Jack Flash. Johnny goes to meet Charlie at the bar with the two women, Heather and Sarah. And, oh my gosh, I missed it. Michael is upset with Johnny over some missing funds, and this only grows and grows throughout the movie. But even though Johnny's coming up with these two women, he's buying them drinks, even though it appears that he doesn't have much money after this next scene. But Charlie takes Johnny to the back and talks. I wrote that he was cock blocking Johnny. He's a no-nonsense kind of man.
He's trying to take care of his buddy, man. I mean, Johnny's not paying his debts. He's getting into trouble, and Charlie's trying to look out for him. But
yeah, I
guess
doing
himself any favors.
And so my question is, why do you think that Charlie put up with so much shit for Johnny, like all throughout the movie?
I don't know. That's one of my main complaints. Like in general, like I didn't care about any of these characters really. And it wasn't clear to me like that they were best buds, that they went way back or anything like that. And like maybe that was there in some way and I missed it, but yeah, it was like I just didn't quite understand why he was putting up with them. Did you notice something I didn't?
No, that was my thing. I even wrote that in my notes later on down the line. Like, why are you putting up with him this much? I wonder if it's because later on we find out that Charlie's girlfriend, who doesn't show up till much later in the film, Charlie's girlfriend, Teresa, is Johnny's cousin, but it sounds like she doesn't like Johnny either, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's like everyone understands that Johnny's a loose cannon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's odd.
So Johnny only has $40 on him, which I'll get to this more, but I haven't done it. I have not run an inflation counter, but the amount of money that they're in debt does not sound like that much. It's a lot, but it's not like
He does rattle off like, oh, I owe this guy $1,000. I owe this guy $1,500. I owe this guy $400. If he's only got $40 on him, he's probably not making much week to week.
No, he's not. But it like $3,000. Maybe in the 1970s, that was a lot of money. That's not that much.
I'll look
money.
It up as we're speaking.
That's not that much money these days.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is a lot of money. I would love a $3,000 paycheck, but when you think of how much things cost, and then you watch other shows and all these deals that go down, $3,000 doesn't seem that much.
Looking it up as we're saying, it's 10x that. It's $30,000. 30
by today's standards.
$30,000, yeah.
In 1973, when this movie came out, let's say
73. My bad. I put in 63.
Well, still.
Let's see. $20,000. That's not nothing.
That's not nothing. Wow. Inflation's a bitch. That is insane to me. Wow. Okay. So that's why they're a little pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay. So Johnny has $40 that he's planning on buying a round of drinks for, but he also mentions to Tony, put it on my tab.
Mm-hmm.
Big one or the small one. And so Johnny is this character who's racking up a bunch of debt, and Charlie keeps the $40, but then he gives some of it back to him. Then which one do you want, Heather or Sarah? It is not clear on if they all go home with each other or not.
Yeah.
Okay, a line that I did like here. You know, when Johnny's showboating, pretending like he has a lot of money, and Mikey asks him, "Hey, can I get a drink?" Oh, yeah. There's a bear shit in the woods. Yeah, I probably fucked that up a little bit, but I thought it was funny.
That's great.
It's a good answer to an obvious. It's a good retort to an obvious yes answer. The next scene is dinner with Oscar at his restaurant, who also can't make payments.
Things must have been rough in New York in the 60s, man. Everyone can't make payments.
Well, and this is where I thought that my admiration for this film comes a little bit later. Admiration's a strong word, but by this point on this rewatch, my second time, I was kind of like, okay, so is this just Charlie being a debt collector? Like there doesn't seem like much of a plot here. And, I will say this is not the strongest plot of any movie, but for very early on in mob movies, it's very good. Interestingly enough, it is sandwiched between Godfather 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
Which doesn't seem to have hurt its image, because this is different enough from both of those.
Yeah, this is pretty gritty, pretty street level.
You've seen Godfather 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
Right? Okay. So that was De Niro's other big role at this time, was Godfather 2. I guess Charlie is on a mission from his uncle. I believe Giovanni is his name.
Yes, the mafioso.
Yes. And so Oscar's coming up with payments of why his partner is gone, and that's why he can't make money. And then, it's just more, it sounded like a bunch of bullshit to me. But then in the next scene, Charlie is going, I think it was a coffee shop, to see his uncle, which is probably a money laundering scheme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we don't get into that very much.
No, that's pretty quick. I don't know. A little further ahead in the movie, I didn't understand this at this time, but it seems like Charlie's smelling blood in the water. He wants to take over this restaurant. He's like, "Oh, this guy can't handle it. I'm gonna handle it." So he starts thinking like, "Hey, I'm gonna take over this restaurant. I'm gonna move my way up from just being a debt collector."
Oh, it does get to that.
Okay, yeah. So that comes up more later. This is just kind of planting the seed. Yeah.
Later on, we'll find Giovanni asks, what's the other guy's name?
One of the other leader guys?
Yeah. Mario. How did I forget that? Giovanni and Mario suggest that Charlie takes over the restaurant because Oscar can't pay anymore.
Nice.
There's more like they go for a ride and they transport some kids with cash who stiff them. I didn't really understand what was happening here.
Me neither. This was another part where I was confused. So they pick up these kids on the street, and this is Charlie's not there, right? This is Tony and Michael, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, so they pick up these kids on the street who want fireworks. And I was like, wait, do they actually want fireworks or do they want drugs? Apparently, it seemed like they actually were talking about fireworks. I just assumed they were talking about drugs again. But
no drugs allowed.
Yeah,
but
no
fireworks
drugs allowed.
Fireworks do come up.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's funny. They take them for a ride, and then they're like, all right, get out here. We'll take your cash, and we need to go pick them up, and we'll come back. And then they just take the money. It seemed like these are like suburban kids or something, like rich kids visiting the city, so they just take them for a ride.
Something like that, but the kids take their money, and then there's more fighting.
And they go to the movies. Let's go to the movies.
They're all beaten up and go to the movies. And then we get to the pool hall scene, which is where I think the movie gets more fun here. This was a fun scene to watch, the pool fighting scene.
Yeah, this was my favorite for sure. This was the highlight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. So they're back at the pool hall scene with Joey this time, and it's a group of Johnny, Charlie, Tony's there, and Jimmy is the other guy's name. Yeah, so I forgot to mention earlier. So Jimmy is played by Lenny Scaletta, who this is his only credit on IMDb. So he didn't make much. Michael, who I mentioned earlier, is played by Richard Romanus. He's in a lot of weird stuff. He's on The Sopranos too. I don't remember that role as much, but he's also in. Have you ever seen Heavy Metal?
No, but I've seen South Park rip it off.
Yes. So he's in the original one, and he's also in Wizards is the other one I recognize. I haven't seen Wizards, but it's on my list. If we ever do a Ralph Bakshi rewatch.
Oh, that's what the people are dying for sure.
I think that I would listen to that. Do you know who Ralph Bakshi is?
Nope.
All right. Have you ever heard of Fritz the Cat?
Nope.
It's the first animated X-rated movie.
Oh, what?
And then he also did the animated Lord of the Rings in the late 70s.
Oh, okay. There we go.
He's an animator, but he makes a lot of raunchy animated movies. There's not a whole I don't know where you could even stream them, honestly. So when we get to that point, Richard Romanus will come back up. But they're trying to collect more funds for Joey, and nobody wants to pay Charlie. This is the third scene where nobody can pay up to him.
Charlie's a bad debt collector.
He's too nice.
Yeah.
He's too nice for the mean street. But, maybe that's just it. Oh, maybe I uncovered the theme there. He's too nice for the mean streets.
I like it.
But Johnny can't keep his mouth shut. And then, what's a mook?
Oh, I forgot. I was going to look that up. It has to be some type of insult. I don't know if it's a racial specific thing or what, but I've heard it before. Have you heard that before?
I've heard it, but I never paid much attention to it.
Okay. According to Merriam-Webster.
Oh, it's just a stupid or incompetent person.
Yeah. Wait, Urban Dictionary has something different.
Oh, that must be true.
Italian-American short form of Molouk, motherfucker, a person of little social standing, one not worthy of respect.
Okay, that's probably where that comes from.
There we go.
So once they say the mook word, a big fight breaks out, along with "Please, Mr. Postman" by the Marvelettes playing.
This was awesome. I loved this. This fight
This was
great.
These were good fights. My favorite part was Johnny Boy going nuts with the pool cue.
Yeah, it was great. I had a big Joker vibes. We're gonna have tryouts.
Joker?
Yeah, Joker in The Dark Knight when he breaks
Oh,
the
yeah.
says the guys,
Okay.
we only got one spot. We're gonna have tryouts.
I thought we were talking about the acclaimed 2019 film that everybody gave a good review that you refused to see.
No. Lady Gaga's gonna make me see it because I'll have to see the sequel. God damn it!
And you call yourself a film critic?
I watch what I like.
You gotta watch the bad in this line of work. All right. So it ends with them all getting arrested, or can we call it arrested? They're all held by the cops.
They get patted down. They don't quite get all the way arrested.
Charlie's penknife gets confiscated, but Joey sweet talks Davis the cop.
Yeah.
And gets them off, and they just said, "Don't start a fight again."
Goes a long way.
Yes, it does. They all take another drink, and then they get to another fight, but this one's much briefer.
Yeah. Just causing problems.
Yeah, it's always Johnny. This is a theme.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny puts the mean in mean streets.
Oh, you know something funny I noticed? Harvey Keitel must be really short because DeNiro looks tall next to him, and DeNiro rarely looks tall, I feel.
Let's look this up. I didn't pay any notice to that.
It's like usually DeNiro doesn't look tall, but next to Keitel, he looks pretty tall.
DeNiro is 5'9.5". That's not that tall.
Yeah, it's not that tall. Oh, I got Keitel, 5'7.5".
That is really short.
That's
pretty short, though.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah. Then it cuts to a scene where we're at Tony's place. He's got 2 exotic lion pets that the other guys are scared of. Why are you guys scared? No wonder Italy lost the war. That was a good line. Tony's getting all affectionate with the lion, and it's so random. It doesn't come back up at all in the movie.
No, that was real odd. Yeah,
it was funny, but it's just like, what?
Yeah, I didn't get it.
I think it's just more
symbolism for something. I just didn't get it.
Maybe to showcase the hobbies of the rich and of the rich.
I guess, yeah. Personally, I'm like so anti-exotic pets. Like even when it's in a movie or something, I just get annoyed by it. Cause like it gives people ideas, and then people think it's okay to have exotic pets, and they're not meant to be that way. I don't need to get on a soapbox. I'll leave it at that. But I get annoyed at that type of stuff usually.
Kevin, do you have any children?
Children? No, I don't.
All right, I don't either. That was for the audience. I know you don't have children.
Oh yeah.
So I saw this meme one time that said, plants are the new pets.
Yeah.
Pets are the new child.
Uh-huh.
And if you have children, that's the equivalent of having exotic pets back then.
I'd say that's I'd agree with that. It makes a lot of sense to me.
No, I don't advocate for exotic pets too. This is a movie. We cut back to the bar, and there is a very drunk man. And did you recognize the actor there?
Our buddy Bill.
Yep. So this was him surviving the crucifixion, and this was just a stop along the way to becoming the Bill in Kill Bill. No, he's just drunk man.
Yeah,
is what he's credited as. So he starts picking fights, and then they. Sorry, the fight doesn't come yet. I got to go to the bathroom. What, do you want somebody to go for you? Just go.
Oh, I thought he said you want someone to hold it for you.
Oh, did he?
I thought that was it. I have to go back and watch with subtitles.
I didn't have the subtitles on either.
It was funny though. He just like lays down on the bar, and like no bouncer comes and gets him off the bar or anything. It's pretty funny.
It is, and he finally does go to the bathroom, and he's there for a minute. And I noticed how depressing this bar looked. They said it was like the season of the witch in here, which I guess was going to be the original title of the movie because they spend so much time at the bar.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of Moe's Tavern for some reason, because I'm going to try and sneak in a Simpsons reference. It's funny, like in the 90s, like there were bars like that. I feel like our generation doesn't go to bars like that as much.
I'm starting to like dive bars, man. I seek them out.
I don't mind dive bars. They look so like Moe's looks like a very depressing place. And
yeah, even like the dive bars I'll go to probably like aren't actually real dive bars. But I get what you're saying.
Outside In is not a dive
just
bar.
A place to drink. That's the only reason this place exists.
Yeah, and to watch strippers.
Yeah, when this place isn't popping on a Friday with the strippers on the stage, it is very sad. Oh, you know what I noticed, though?
Yeah.
In the bar, more PBR signs. So I wonder if you remember in Boxcar Bertha, there was a lot of PBR at the end of the movie. So
I didn't notice that. You did, but
I think Scorcese has an agreement with PBR.
Maybe.
I'll pay attention in his future movies to see if it keeps popping up.
Yeah, maybe that'll need to be the beer drink of choice with this. College. There was a part with a Nazi swastika. Do you remember what?
Yeah, that came and went, and I was like, "What?"
I like that they used the word.
Went away, right?
Yeah, I like that they used the word Dummkopf, which is German for dumb fuck, I believe. I'm not looking that up. Hey, you want to play cards, Michael? Or Charlie wants to play cards, Michael. I've got a game you cannot say no to. No. Oh, that was funny. We cut to the scene in the bathroom where drunk man Bill, David Carradine, he's shot in the bathroom by a kid with gun is the credit, played by Robert Carradine. So you want to know the interesting fact
about please.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was. I don't know if interesting is the right word, but do you know who played the kid with the gun?
Is that his son or his brother? Who is it?
It's Robert Carradine, who is the younger half brother. But do you know who Robert Carradine?
No, I don't.
Do you remember Lizzie McGuire?
I do.
He played the dad on Lizzie McGuire.
No way.
Isn't that wild?
That is real strange.
So, if we were playing 6 Degrees of Wikipedia, Mean Streets, and Lizzie McGuire, this would be a pretty easy game.
That's an easy match.
Isn't that wild?
That is very.
So the murder goes down, and it's a drunk guy is shot, but he goes up. He lasts a long time fighting and choking the kid with gun.
Yeah, he's past the feeling of pain. He must have been really drunk.
Then Michael gives everyone a lift after the murder, including the obnoxious Benton and Sammy. I don't really know what the point of those characters was.
Me neither. That was odd. They shut down the bar, they make sure the drunk guy is just out on the street, and they shut it down like they're closed, and everybody runs away so they don't get cops to check in on the bar, which I thought was smart. It seemed like it wasn't the first time they'd had to do that.
Yeah, they eventually get kicked out of the car. There's another guy named Joey. I believe it's a different Joey. Johnny Boy and Charlie they break away from the car. They're on their own bullshit now. And was Johnny drunk in this scene? Was that, or was he just insane? I couldn't tell.
I don't know. It's really hard to tell. He's just always pretty wild. But I wrote down that they have a Captain America fight.
Yeah, they're screwing around fighting in the streets with trash can lids.
Yep, that was I enjoyed that.
And there's another funny dialogue. Do you like your grandmother? Well, of course I do. She's my grandmother. Well, don't mean you gotta like her. She's gonna die soon, right? They end up going back to Charlie's place, and that apartment looked super. It had the same religious getup as JR's and Who's That Knocking at My Door.
It did, yeah. It had a lot of crucifixes, and it was very formal and fancy.
Curious if it was the same set. I don't think it was, but it was a very similar vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Johnny stays with Charlie overnight, and Charlie is watching his neighbor get dressed, and then it cuts to a sex scene with those. And for a minute there, I thought that they were mimicking the same fantasy sex scene that was going on in Who's That Knocking at My Door, but it was not a fantasy. It was the real deal.
Me too. I literally wrote down fantasy ?
So this was Teresa, played by Amy Robinson, who she's not in very much, but she's more of a producer.
I read that on her IMDb. That's super cool.
And she also produced After Hours, which we'll watch later on. Another Scorcese film. That's a fun one. Fun little unknown one. So I guess we find out that Teresa is Johnny's cousin, and it was weird to me that we're this far in the movie before she actually appeared.
Yeah.
But they later go into detail that he kind of keeps her, like he doesn't tell anyone about her because she has epilepsy, and if it were to get out that he's dating a woman with epilepsy, he'd be ridiculed.
Such bullshit. Makes no sense. Was epilepsy like super bad back in the day? I don't get it.
I think I don't know, but you'll see, like, man, you should watch The Sopranos, but there's just a lot of, like, they don't like minorities.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like seen as a form of weakness. Like, okay. Earlier in the movie, Charlie says, regarding Diane the stripper, well, she is really good looking, but she's black.
Yeah.
So it's like they all kind of look down on minorities like that, which is not okay, but it's a recurring theme in a lot of these mob gangster movies and TV shows like this. I'm trying to think of an example in The Sopranos, but it's not coming up.
Yeah.
That's probably been a decade since no, not quite that long, but it's been a long time since I've watched that show.
Yeah, and it's not to make any excuses, but it was the '60s, and this is Scorsese talked about in some of this was inspired by people he knew in his real life and all that. So it's probably real things he heard and saw and witnessed, and what people around him talked about when he was growing up in Little Italy in New York.
Yeah, I'm sure. It was there's a lot of prejudice. This is also if we're assuming this takes place present day back then, 1972, this is right after civil rights, and
I keep getting that mixed up. I keep thinking it's the 60s, not the 70s.
I think it has something to do with, like, as archaic as this sounds, that's like keeping the bloodlines pure. Like, if he were to marry her, he might have a kid with epilepsy, and that's
unfortunately
weak. I truly think that's what they're going for here, which is it's sad, but we're watching this in a 1973 lens, and it's just how people were back then. It's not okay, but it's how it was.
Yeah. It comes up a little bit later too. We can come back to this, but like the mafioso guy, Giovanni, he is very against her, and he's very prejudiced against her epilepsy. So you can kind of tell it's like coming from the top.
Yes, we're actually getting to that scene too. First, he's coming out of her apartment, and she's very rude to a housekeeper, and I don't understand why that was.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. Yeah, there's a lot of weird, just like little things like that in the movie, that throwaway bits that don't really go anywhere.
Yeah, everybody, he's back in his uncle's coffee shop talking to him. They're talking about the murder that happened the night before, I believe. It's not that important to it, but then it cuts away to another scene where they're at they're by the ocean, and oh, I hate the sun. I hate the ocean.
Yeah, it's funny. I like that.
And
Charlie's
guess what?
Not a fan of the outdoors.
No, but he is a fan of John Wayne because they're talking about John Wayne again.
Yep. See, he's JR.
He's got to be JR. He's JR's long lost brother. JR's brother, Charlie. That's my headcanon. The Scorsese verse crossover. Move over, Marvel. Martin Scorsese.
Yeah.
Forrest
I read somewhere that they originally were going to get John Voight for the lead role, but then...
I didn't read that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it probably would have been... I mean, we're watching these in order, so that's a lot more obvious to us, but it might have been less obvious if it was a different actor. But
Right.
Keitel was great. It was just... It's funny.
I did too. I don't...
trying to find all the parallels.
I couldn't imagine John Voight in this role.
Yeah. Young John Voight. I don't know what he was like when he was younger. He's another one I haven't really seen him in any of his original films.
Have you seen Deliverance?
No.
Scariest movie I've ever seen.
That's what I hear.
That's what I know him from. Otherwise, or I guess is more modern stuff. Remember Holes?
You mean, what about National Treasure 2?
How could I forget National Treasure 2? That is your kind of movie.
Well, I guess he's in both. He's in both National Treasures. Helen Mirren is just in number 2.
That is your kind of movie.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Well, Kevin loves the adventure movies. Wait till we get to Steven Spielberg.
Woo!
So we're still in this part of this scene. There was an interesting part. They're talking about Johnny and how Teresa is Johnny's cousin and she does not like him. And she's even asking, why are you so nice to him? And Teresa points out that you should help yourself first before helping others. And then Charlie says, help yourself? Bullshit. You're all wrong about that. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I guess it kind of goes back to the beginning where he's like, how do you show, I forget, his view of religion, of being like, oh, you do it you be good in the streets. You don't have to be good.
You don't make up for it in church.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess he's trying to do that.
Oh, maybe that's why he's so nice, because he thinks he's like saving Johnny.
I guess so. Yeah, but it's still not clear why he likes him so much. It's like he picked his guy. He's like, I gotta make sure this guy's okay. But
he did not pick well.
No, he didn't.
He does not keep great company. So I do feel like you should help yourself to help others, but there is a point where that goes a little too selfish.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people today swing the pendulum too far in that direction. But this isn't a podcast about ethics. So help yourself before you help others, but don't wait to completely help yourself, and don't adopt exotic pets. You
The
heard it
lessons
here.
of the podcast.
You heard it.
it.
Yes. Maybe this will evolve into a philosophy podcast.
Ooh, there we go.
That sounds terrible. I like philosophy, but that just sounds like two old dudes jerking each other off over some philosophical concept.
Who are you calling old? We're not that old.
No, I'm not talking about us. I'm talking about any philosophical podcast. I don't listen to any philosophical podcasts. Maybe they're philosophical to me. I don't know. Moving on. We're back at Tony's again. Charlie is flirting with Diane the stripper. Yeah, I don't know what this part is all about, because he's like following her in a cab, tracking her. Eventually, he uses better judgment with this than he does for Johnny, but he doesn't end up tracking her.
Yeah, you can tell like they chit chat and like they were friendly earlier on in the movie when he goes up and like dances with them on stage, but like they're performing and Diane's performing, and then backstage she has zero interest in him.
Right. Pulling up another famous quote I saw in a meme. That's an oxymoron. The people who believe the government cares about them are the same ones who believe that the stripper's in love with them.
Exactly.
Had to throw that out there. But so he's tracking her, but then he uses his best judgment and doesn't go after her, which is good.
Yeah.
Now the next scene is the one that we've been talking about for a while, the scene where they're at dinner at Oscar's with Mario and Giovanni. But they want him to run the restaurant, and in order to do so, he has to distance himself from Teresa and Johnny. Any other takes on this scene?
I mean, I guess it's his choice, his key choice moment. Does he want to stay with his buddy and his girlfriend, or does he want to take over this restaurant? And this is kind of his main choice he has to make in the movie.
Mm-hmm. It's finally getting interesting. It's not just about debt collecting, although there's another big debt to pay.
Yeah.
We find out what happens to Oscar's partner. I guess he blew his brains out, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's why the restaurant is failing.
Mm-hmm. And we find out what happens to Oscar's partner, and then the next scene we have is a nice outfit from his mother. He has a nice outfit for this party he's going to, given to him with a note from his mother. We do not meet the mother in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to a party that's honoring a soldier. I believe was it a birthday party? They're honoring a veteran who turns out to be pretty unstable. I don't know if it was
welcome home or if it was a birthday. I'm not sure, but they deck out the whole bar with red and white and blue streamers and all that. It's very patriotic.
Oh, and they're also supposed to talk some sense into Johnny tonight.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why they're doing that on the night of this party, but...
is that why Charlie's going so hard? I wrote down Charlie going hard. Do you think he's nervous about talking to Johnny?
I don't know, but he was surprisingly put together after waking up from being passed out drunk.
Yeah.
I did notice that. That was a really good filming. That was as far as cinematography goes, this far in our rewatch, that is the best. That's the best cinematography work so far. By far. Cool.
I read a bit about this scene. So we have this interesting shot where Charlie's face is the center of the screen, and he's just kind of stumbling around for a while, super drunk, having a good time. But the way they did that is they had to strap a camera to him to do that. Is really neat. It was a really well done scene. You definitely felt like you were along for the ride with him.
Yeah, and so he's in a drunken slumber, and he's woken up by Michael, and this is where I thought that he's very well put together for someone who just partied that hard.
Yeah.
Johnny still owes Michael money, and Johnny is essentially Charlie's employee. Is that what we're gathering?
I guess
at this point in the
he's
movie,
the guy who's sticking up for him, so it seems like he's responsible for him, whether he's his boss or what. It's like people hey, Johnny's not doing a shit. Charlie, what's going on?
Right, and they're still at the party during all this, and the vet starts to beat this girl that he's with.
Yeah, it's a nasty, I don't know if it's a PTSD moment or what, but he just starts wailing on this girl.
Yeah, I think he was unstable.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just credited as girl at party.
Yeah.
Who is this played by? Julie Andelman. Yeah, she's not in much, but she did pass away in 2005 due to cancer.
Mm.
Her and Charlie seem to hit it off. I wrote in my notes that was quick.
Yeah.
But nothing really happens. They just dance, and then he puts her to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, tucks her in on the floor. I know we're talking about gangster movies. He doesn't put her to sleep like that.
Yeah. They seem like they were just drunk happy together.
And then Teresa comes back. Teresa comes into the party, and Johnny still has not showed up at this point. And Teresa comes to the party to tell Charlie that he's firing a gun off the roof, which he just gets more and more insane during this movie. He says he's up there firing a gun on the roof, and he says he's going to shoot the Empire State Building. He looks deranged
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm not shooting at them. I'm shooting above them." And
Shoots at someone. He's like, "Oh, I always hated that lady." He, like, shoots at a window. So he's
yeah,
definitely
and
shooting at some people.
he said he wasn't, but then he lights off a firework too. We're in a cemetery talking now. I think Johnny is still drunk. So this is why I say that Charlie is very well put together for someone who was just at the party, because he's trying to talk sense into Johnny. Charlie looks on at the party while Johnny passes out drunk on the. I don't. It's not even clear if he was drunk. I'm just saying that because he's so deranged.
Yeah, probably.
He
We'll just
passes.
assume yes.
Yeah, he passes out, and then the next day, Michael is pissed, and he even goes to threaten Teresa, which was not cool. This is in the part where I wrote down 3,000 isn't that much, was it in the 1970s? So thank you for looking that up on an inflation calculator.
No problem.
I'd be pissed about 20,000. So next we have Johnny, who turns out he's walking the streets, and he just starts randomly beating on some guy. I thought it could have been the murder of the drunk guy, but what do you think? Was it him? I couldn't tell.
I couldn't tell either. I think it just seemed like Johnny was walking around in a stupor, and he just sees a guy he doesn't look like the look of, and he just starts beating up on him on the street, and like not just a punch, to like wailing on him. So just going to show how nutso Johnny is.
Well, he gets even more nuts there. So we cut to Charlie and Teresa arguing because Michael had threatened her. And I think he's trying to break it off with her, but it doesn't actually. He can't do it because Johnny's still at large. He shows up, and isn't that too bad? You didn't show last night. Isn't that too bad? But he finds out about Charlie and Teresa. He won't say nothing about her. He's saying things to provoke Charlie, like, "Hey, what is it like when she comes?"
Oh gosh, yeah, that was wild. It's like this guy's just causing trouble constantly with like the one guy who cares about him.
And then they start
and his cousin, or and his sister, excuse me.
It's his cousin.
Oh, it is cousin, yeah.
It's his cousin, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They start to fight, and Teresa has a seizure, and a random woman comes to take care of her while Charlie goes after Johnny. Did you catch who the random woman was?
Is it Scorsese's mom?
I believe it's Catherine Scorsese. I couldn't find that in writing, but who else would it be?
I guessed it, yeah.
And Johnny bails, and this is where Charlie finally catches up to him and gives him the $22, and it's, why are you being so nice to Johnny after all of this?
Oh no, man. He's a nice guy. He's trying to take care of people, I guess.
I know, but it's too much. And then even Charlie starts going nuts there a little bit. They're back at Tony's again.
Mm-hmm.
Did you notice they're lighting the drink on fire? So yeah. they're making flaming moes again.
All right, more flaming moes. I love it.
We'll have to make one of these days. They're not that fun to drink.
The cough syrup doesn't go down smooth.
No, I have a Simpsons cookbook that gives you a recipe, no cough syrup.
Ah, okay.
They're just like shots, though. Like,
oh, okay. It's not
like
a sipping drink.
Not really. Not like it is in the show. I'm sure you could make it a sipping drink, but that would be potent. Charlie is randomly hitting on a girl, which causes a fight with another man.
Yeah, they're all just kind of unraveling here. It's kind of a weird ending.
Yeah, I think Charlie is just getting more and more like frustrated with everything because he's trying to get rid of Johnny, but he can't for some reason. He can't get rid of Teresa. And Johnny's just going madder and madder, just provoking more people, like Tony and Michael. I did write this down. The money looked actually current here.
Yeah. Period correct money.
Yes. But he's just provoking Michael more and more. He only has $10 that he gives to Michael. Michael is pissed and throws it back because Johnny still owes Michael $3,000. And then Johnny's like, he's shooting off his gun at this bar.
Yeah.
And Michael eventually storms off, and the gun's finally not loaded. And finally, they go for another ride. And this is where it gets kind of weird. They're dancing to Mickey's Monkey by the Miracles, which was strange. And then they go see a movie. I don't know what movie that was. I did not look that up.
I have no idea, yeah. Deep cut movies that they're showing that they're going to in this movie.
Yeah. Teresa insists on coming to the lake with Johnny and Charlie for some reason. I don't know why she'd want to go with them to the lake, but you wonder what's going to happen. Like, is Charlie just going to off Johnny? Is he sick of it?
It might be, yeah. It might be a Fredo situation off in the lake. Could be.
But we're getting to the ending, so we're back to the religious theme. There's another religious voiceover. Charlie starts driving more and more crazy. I wondered what he was doing. Like, oh my gosh. It crossed my mind. Is this going to be a murder-suicide thing?
Oh, yeah.
But no, what happens is he's trying to match Michael. So he gets to Michael's car and gets Johnny shot, which was intentional. But it turns into this big car chase. And he crashes the car, and it ends with a weird montage that I didn't really understand, and I can't find much about it. I think he's just dazed, and it's like he's thinking about religion because he's dazed after in the crashed vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny runs out of the car. His fate is unknown, but he's looking pretty beat up. It looks like he got shot either in the shoulder or the neck.
Yeah, he was gushing blood. I think it was the neck.
And Teresa is taken away by the paramedics along with Charlie. Yeah, I thought she had died for a minute. The way her hand was through the windshield, but they both looked alive at the end. But the paramedics take them away, and we don't really see what happens because the film ends there.
Yeah, we get another cliffhanger. Scorsese and his cliffhangers.
Yep. So talking back through it, I get why you didn't like it as much. I guess I much like this better on a rewatch.
I'll have to try and do that with future movies. I'll have to try and plan ahead so I can watch them twice, especially for these ones I haven't seen before. To be totally honest, I started falling asleep a little bit at the end of this one.
Bro, leaving me with all the heavy lifting.
I know. I'm sorry, Forrest.
Oh, I don't know. I did not fall asleep. I don't fall asleep to movies. If I'm tired, I have to turn it off and go to bed. I cannot fall asleep with a TV on. I'm a notoriously shitty sleeper.
Yeah, it wasn't a full sleep, but I was definitely dazing a little bit for the last 15 minutes. But I woke up for that actual ending where Michael essentially assassinates or whacks him. So
nice.
Yeah, and then we get another cliffhanger, which is kind of fun. I don't know. Movies don't end in they don't end in cliffhangers like that anymore. They end in a cliffhanger where there's going to be a part 2. But I kind of like stories like this where it's like, well, up to you to decide what happened.
I don't think we're getting a cliffhanger, a part 2 for this movie.
I don't think so either.
What was your favorite part, Kevin?
Well, I think I tipped my hat earlier. I liked the pool hall scene the best. That whole bit was really fun. There was a lot going on. It was funny. There was action. There was clever dialogue. That was my favorite bit. How about you, Forrest?
I'm going to have to agree. I didn't think about that going in. I think it was the most fun to watch for sure. And it was right before things were getting too heated and serious. But I love me a good fight scene in a movie. So I'm going to have to go with the pool hall fight scene.
Yeah. And I really like Joey, too. The owner of the pool hall. He was a fun, interesting character. And I kind of liked him better than any of the other main characters. So that's
interesting.
That scene.
So Joey was played by George Mamoli. I don't know him from anything else.
No, it doesn't ring a bell for me.
Oh, I guess he's the ice rig attendant in Rocky.
Oh, cool.
This is probably his biggest role. But he passed away at the age of 46 in 1985.
Yikes.
I don't know why. I think it was injuries sustained in a filming accident during the production of the movie The Farmer.
That's awful.
Or that was in 1977, so maybe those injuries led to an untimely death. I don't know. I don't think we'll be. I don't think we'll discuss him too much more. Unfortunately, what was your least favorite part?
I mean, I guess probably the ending because I started falling asleep. Not the absolute ending, but like what was leading up to it. I don't know. It was just kind of it felt kind of smashed together, and I mean, I guess that's what the characters were going through. So the characters were kind of all over the place. So the story and the movie was all over the place. But for me, it just didn't quite work.
Are we gonna have to fight during the ranking this time?
Maybe.
My least favorite part. I'm gonna have to say the part with Diane the stripper. I don't think it added anything.
Yeah. No, I'd agree. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think you could have cut that whole part out, and the movie would have been the exact same.
Yeah.
But I did significantly enjoy this more than I did on my first watch.
Okay. I'll have to give it a second chance one day.
What's your overall ranking?
It's like I see why it's better. I think I personally didn't like it as much, and the main reasons is like I kind of said in the beginning, I didn't really care about any of these characters, and like in Who's That Knocking at My Door, there were so many good like conversations between the characters. I felt like you got to know them and like them. In Bertha, there was just more fun characters. You got to learn a little bit more. But I do see how this one is better from a technical standpoint, and it's a good precursor to everything. So I am going to say it's the best of the current three that we're at.
Oh, I'm not ranking it yet. I'm asking your personal score out of 10.
Oh, my personal. I thought we were doing the actual ranking.
No, you falling asleep during this podcast too?
No, you said ranking. I thought we were
I said your person. I should have said rating.
That's okay. Maybe you did. Oh, I'm gonna give it a 3. I mean,
a 3 out of 10.
No, a 6. My bad.
Okay. All right. So interesting. You enjoyed Boxcar Bertha more than this. Well, this is why we're doing it. This is interesting. There are no wrong answers. I'm jumping it up to an 8.
Nice.
I was more impressed with it this time around. Is it the best Scorsese pick? Currently, yes. In our rewatch, currently, yes. Sorry, I'm spoiling the ranking. Yeah, I'm excited to see what's to come after that. I think this is the first efforts where he's really out on his own. And I think he did a good job. I'm excited to see where he runs with it. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, so in our ranking, where we rank, we're ranking them as we watch on what's the worst and what's the best. Currently, at our number 1 is Who's That Knocking at My Door, and number 2 is Boxcar Bertha at the worst. Where would you rank this? I think you already said it, but I think
I did. I would rank it reluctantly. I'd rank it at number 1. I see how it's better objectively, even though I didn't like it as much, but I see how it is better than the other ones technically and from a story standpoint, writing standpoint, and filmmaking for sure.
Okay, you're comfortable with that? That's where I'm putting it, but it's not even close to me. Now, do you just not like the gangster genre as much, or?
No, I do. Usually I like a gangster genre where I like the characters, and I just didn't like any of these characters. I mean, DeNiro's character was interesting, like his wild goofiness, but I didn't personally like any of them, and I didn't really care about what they were doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I get that they weren't likable.
Maybe I need to give it that second watch.
Well, watch it in the morning. Don't fall asleep next time. Fall asleep again, you're fired.
Oh, jeez. I said I didn't fall asleep. I just nodded off.
I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder. All right. Kevin, do you have a haiku for this one?
I do.
All right, let's hear it.
Easiest haiku yet. It took
boy.
2 minutes.
All right, let's hear it.
You can't take the heat. Watch your back on these mean streets. You just might get whacked.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you didn't talk about how much you didn't like the movie. Maybe I'm being too harsh. I'm just kidding. Your opinion's yours, and I respect it. I am surprised that you didn't like it as much as the others.
Me too. I wanted to like it, but I mean, I got 24 hours left on my rental. Maybe I'll watch it again.
I had the old DVD. I'm gonna have to rent the next one though. Speaking of that, the next film we are watching is Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. I haven't seen that one, so
me neither. Surprise, surprise.
All right. Well, this will be fun then.
Yeah, it'll be good.
You can reach us at goodmoviesthepodcast@gmail.com. You can also find me, Forrest, on Letterboxd at Shaggy F Dog. That's SHAGGYFDOGGG. All one word. Kevin, where can we find you?
You can also find me on Letterboxd at Vin152. That's VIN152.
All right. Well, I am Forrest.
And I'm Kevin.
And this has been a Good Movies production.